Welcome to the book of John, the Gospel of John. John, Zebedee was his last name, son of Zebedee, and his brother James, were nicknamed Sons of Thunder by Jesus. John was a full eyewitness to the things that Jesus did, and he mentioned some things that weren't mentioned in the other Gospels, called the Synoptic Gospels. Matthew was an eyewitness to most of the things Jesus did, but not to the extent of John, James, and Peter. John Mark, who wrote the book of Mark, may have been a witness of the crucifixion, but that's not certain. Luke had only heard what Peter told him, as Peter was a close friend. And Paul only saw Jesus on the road to Damascus. James and Jude, who wrote their short books, were thought to be brothers of Jesus, but they don't tell any stories about Jesus as the Gospels do. And Peter was a full eyewitness, but he also doesn't tell any stories about Jesus as the Gospels. John doesn't mention himself until 13:23, during the Last Supper when he leaned on Jesus' breast. And it was mentioned there that he was the one disciple loved by Jesus. He was beckoned to by Simon Peter to ask Jesus who the person was that was going to deliver him up. Then the next place we see John mentioned is at the trial of Jesus, where he followed Jesus to the trial area. And says he was known by the high priest, and he brought Simon Peter inside the compound. Then, in 1926, John appears at the cross, where Jesus tells him basically to look after his mother, Jesus' mother. Then in 22, he went with Peter to the sepulchre, and he mentions that he didn't know the scripture of Jesus rising from the dead, but seeing the cloths, he believed. Then in verse 31, 20, he mentions writing the gospel. And at chapter 21, almost the whole chapter is at the Sea of Galilee, where John is there with the group of men and all the things that Jesus did. In Galatians 2:9, it's mentioned that Paul gave the right hand, or John gave the right hand of friendship to Paul. And in 2 Peter 1:18, Peter mentions hearing the voice on the mountain with John. John wrote the books of 1st, 2nd, and 3rd John. In the book of Revelations, it mentions John the evangelist, but personally, I don't think it's the same John. I can't see him calling himself the evangelist, and he was taking care of Jesus' mother and all of a sudden ending up on the island of Patmos. I could be wrong. It's been argued for a long time who wrote the book of Revelation. But I hope you'll enjoy this book of John, going through the video seminars, chapter by chapter, and hope you'll join us in them. God bless.